If the territorial integrity of our country is threatened, we will without question use all the means at our disposal to protect Russia and our people. This is not a bluff.
As Russian President Vladimir Putin in a not-so-veiled threat to use nuclear weapons, no surprise, it came just before President Biden spoke at the UN, literally just hours before. And his army continues to lose ground. We're going to head over to the maps to show you what's continued to happen here as the Ukrainians have pressed forward now 6 months into this war. The Russians have lost now 10% of the area of the east that they hoped to contain and begin to cut off. Right now, the Russians have called up 300,000 of their reserved troops. The war here is so unpopular that trying to buy a plane ticket out of Russia is now impossible. It shows just how unpopular the war here in Ukraine is and how worried Russians are about going to fight in Ukraine. Here's President Biden today.
This war is about extinguishing Ukraine's right to exist as a state. That should make your blood run cold.
David Asher's here of the Hudson Institute. What is this? Putin's just worried he's not relevant during the UN General Assembly? What is it?
I think it's something more serious. I mean, Putin is losing, and Russian elites are losing Putin as a leader they can trust, actually. Some of them are really, really ultra-right, think he needs to move much harder. That's why he's threatening nuclear, a feigned, at least nuclear attack at risk against the United States and Europe. But I also think that Putin is in trouble because the Russians don't like losers, and he's a loser right now.
When you say they don't like trouble, you mean and they don't like losing. You're saying that there's a chance of a coup? What I'm trying to figure out where you're going.
I think that's not that likely right now, but I think that there's a chance that there's going to be some sort of move over the next coming months against him if he surrenders as much territory at the rate he's surrendering it right now. The only thing he really has going for him is the weather. You know, it starts to get cold and mushy in the ground in mid-October, typically in the Ukraine and the north, where he's losing the most ground. But you know, I think with the more advanced equipment that we've been giving the Ukrainians, they're going to keep fighting. They're not going to stop in the wintertime. So he's in trouble. But let's face it, this is the first time, I believe, in history that a Soviet or Russian leader, or any leader other than the crazy North Koreans, have ever threatened the United States and Europe with a potential nuclear attack. It's different.
Right. Back in the day, you know, in the 50s and 60s, there was things went back and forth, and you had the Russians send nuclear missiles to Cuba and the like. When I read what he said, though, if the territorial integrity of our country is threatened, we will without question use all means at our disposal. That's not really threatening a unilateral first strike on Washington.
It's not, I know, Leland, but the problem is anybody, I've worked around nuclear doctrine and missiles and weapon systems for years, and anytime someone who makes a veiled threat against the United States like this, you have to take it seriously and probably elevate our level of alert. I've talked to a whole bunch of Russia experts, including Russians who are against Putin, and they certainly feel that this was a different level of rhetoric and threat than they've ever seen out of a Russian leader historically.
What do we make of that? Is it the escalate to de-escalate, the bluff that Putin is famous for, of trying to get the world to be scared? And if so, sort of the hand-wringing in the West over this, and oh my God, Vladimir Putin threatened. I'm wondering if a sort of a calm, well, you know, that's what he's going to do, and we're going to keep doing what we're going to do response wouldn't be better.
I agree with you. And I'd also say that, you know, look, Vladimir, don't think that we don't have nuclear weapons and other capabilities. And we do have a lot of other capabilities, which I can't talk about, but American people should know that we haven't spent the last 40 years since the stealth fighters were designed doing nothing with our military capability development. So, you know, Putin would have an awful lot that we could throw at him if he ever decides to make a more credible direct threat. I don't think, though, we should respond. I agree with you. I think we just need to show tangibly that we're going to keep supporting the Ukrainians. I would give them the longer range rockets that can hit 200 miles into Russian territory. That, I think, even though we would hope the Ukrainians wouldn't use them at that level, having them out there, I think, would also cause Putin to take pause.
Yeah, the flip side of this is what Putin threatened, right? If the territorial integrity of our country is threatened, that speaks directly to those missiles. David, thank you. We appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.